whose kung fu skills were the stuff of legend, a baffling panda wearing a streaming cape and sedge cap, strolls through the Chinese scene. Presumed to be a stupendous expert of kung fu, he enters a bar where he is promptly gone after by the nearby miscreants. Be that as it may, they are no counterpart for his ability, and surprisingly, the amazing kung fu aces, the enraged five, do homage the panda's expertise, mentioning to spend time with him and battle close by him as 𝐂𝐫𝐞𝐝𝐢𝐭𝐬. Jack Dark awakens from his fantasy in his room. His goose father, Mr. Ping, James Hong, calls to him from the noodle eatery beneath to assist with serving tables. Poe appreciates his irate five activity figures prior to going first floor. An outrageous enthusiast of kung fu, Poe longs for one day turning into an expert deserving of battling close by the five, yet his size and ungainliness makes this fantasy basically a fantasy, and his kung fu gifts dwell just inside his insight into moves and relics. He is reluctant to communicate his cravings to his father, who is more keen on running his cafe and promoting his renowned secret fixing soup. Ace Shifu, Dustin Hoffman, a red panda who lives at the Jade Royal Residence Sanctuary, rehearses kung fu in the patio with his understudies, the irate five, Tigress, Angelina Jolie, Crane, David Cross, Monkey, Jackie Chan, Snake, Lucy Liu, and Mantis, Seth Rogen, before he is called to see Turtle excellent expert 𝐂𝐫𝐞𝐝𝐢𝐭𝐬, Randall Duck Kim. Dreading something is him contemplating in the amazing corridor. 𝐂𝐂𝐫𝐞𝐝𝐢𝐭𝐬 doesn't deny awful news yet serenely tells Shifu he's anticipated that the Snow Panther champion Tai Lung, Ian McShane, will get away from jail and return to the Valley of Harmony to unleash obliteration indeed. Aim on never allowing this to occur, Shifu sends his goose courier, Zhang Dan Fogler, to travel to Chorgom jail to guarantee that security is expanded. 𝐂𝐂𝐫𝐞𝐝𝐢𝐭𝐬 then, at that point, declares that the time has come to pick the mythical serpent champion, an expert of incredible ability who will be conceded the insider facts of the universe by perusing the mythical beast parchment, kept carefully unattainable on the sanctuary roof. Expecting that one of the incensed five will be picked, Shifu readies a rivalry to figure out which one will qualify. Flyers for the opposition are spread all through town, and the residents run to the sanctuary. Eager to have the chance to see his godlike objects face to face, Poe follows with his noodle truck close behind, yet battles on the long flight of stairs to the sanctuary. He is the last to show up at the entryways and finds that they've closed him out. In a frantic bid to see the opposition before it's finished, Poe designs firecrackers to his truck and impacts himself high out of sight, just to come crashing down in the field, similarly as 𝐂𝐂𝐫𝐞𝐝𝐢𝐭𝐬 is getting ready to pick out of the five. Poe wakes him up to see 𝐂𝐂𝐫𝐞𝐝𝐢𝐭𝐬's finger pointed right at him, and is stunned, alongside every other person, when he is declared to be the winged serpent fighter. 𝐂𝐂𝐫𝐞𝐝𝐢𝐭𝐬's choice is conclusive, regardless of Shifu's fights, and Poe is conveyed ineffectively into the sanctuary, leaving Tigress significantly frustrated, since it appeared 𝐂𝐂𝐫𝐞𝐝𝐢𝐭𝐬 would have picked her in the event that Poe hadn't shown up. Inside the sanctuary, Poe inspects with stunningness the numerous weaponry and significant antiques before Shifu approaches him and censures him for his conspicuous absence of expertise. He empties Poe's fervor by snatching his finger in what Poe perceives as the Wuxi finger hold, presumed to be very strong. Shifu guarantees that Poe will lament being picked prior to taking him to the five's preparing room, where Poe is quickly scrutinized. Apprehensive, yet eager to attempt some kung fu moves, Poe acknowledges the demand, however, is rushed, flung, and whipped to a now existing level 0. En route to the dorms, Poe hears the five make fun of his ineptitude. He has an abnormal discussion with Crane, opening up to his own questions of being the mythical beast champion. Tigress guarantees his questions, calling him ashamed to kung fu, and lets him know that, in the event that he is savvy, he will leave before breakfast. Unsettled, Poe retreats to a segregated spot. 𝐂𝐂𝐫𝐞𝐝𝐢𝐭𝐬 finds him sitting underneath the peach tree of great insight, with peaches stuffed into his mouth. Detecting his trouble, and noticing that he finds solace in food, 𝐂𝐂𝐫𝐞𝐝𝐢𝐭𝐬 educates Poe that he stresses a lot concerning what or could be. He ought to rather zero in on the current second, as opposed to questioning himself. Re-established with a feeling of assurance, Poe rises the following morning individual, and declares that he will remain to prepare. He competes with every one of the enraged five, getting quick beatings in spite of his unflinching energy. Baffled by Poe's constancy, Shifu is confused. Nonetheless, the five become intrigued by Poe's courage and ultimately begin to get used to him, except for Tigress. During a needle therapy meeting with Mantis, the five uncover that Shifu was not generally as harsh as he as of now is. Shifu raised Tai Lung as his own and trusted that he was the mythical winged serpent fighter, when the whelp showed a characteristic ability in kung fu. In any case, when the opportunity arrived to remain before 𝐂𝐂𝐫𝐞𝐝𝐢𝐭𝐬, the terrific expert detected dimness in Tai Lung and denied him the distinction of getting the winged serpent parchment. Rankled, Tai Lung went out of control through the town and endeavored to take the look forcibly. Really focusing on him to an extreme, Shifu couldn't battle Tai Lung, and 𝐿𝐵 had to overcome him by obstructing his chi. Tigress then, at that point, says that Shifu never focused on any person or thing since, not even her, his own cultivate little girl. In the interim, Zhang shows up at 𝐂𝐫𝐞𝐝 jail and is accompanied to Tai Lung's hold by the careless officer Vacher, Michael Clark Duncan, a rhinoceros. Vacher guarantees Zhang that the jail is inevitable as one of Zhang's quillung. Utilizing his tail, he involves the plume to eliminate the chi blockers in the turtle shell contraption on his back and break free. Tai Lung gets away from the jail in a dangerous showcase of his wild kung fu capacities and snatches Zhang, training him to fly back to Shifu to declare that the genuine winged serpent fighter is returning home. Back at the sanctuary, Po engages the five with some noodle soup he arranged, mimicking Shifu involving a noodle as a mustache. Outside, Shifu is met by a tousled Zhang who transfers the news. Overreacted, Shifu finds 𝐿𝐵 next to the holy peach tree and lets him know that Tai Lung is coming. 𝐿𝐵 is stunned, yet guarantees Shifu that, assuming he finds confidence in the panda and trains him, Tai Lung will be crushed and Shifu will at last discover a sense of harmony. He then, at that point, gives Shifu his wooden staff and claims that his opportunity has arrived. He strolls close to the edge of the bluff side and evaporates in a cloudiness of peach blooms. Shifu gets back to the sanctuary, melancholy, and advises the five regarding 𝐿𝐵's passing and the way in which Po is their last opportunity to overcome Tai Lung. Alarmed, Po escapes from the sanctuary, yet is before long come by Shifu. Po faces Shifu, saying that he attempted to remove him from the sanctuary. Whenever Shifu asks Po for what reason he then, at that point, remained, realizing that his educator believed him should stop, Po admits a profound self-hatred as a fat disappointment, how he held out a weak expectation that Shifu could transform him. As Shifu acknowledges how profoundly troubled the Goliath panda is, Po asks the way that he will prepare him to turn into the mythical serpent fighter. Confronting such a test with an understudy so burdened in various regards, Shifu concedes that he doesn't have the foggiest idea. Hearing this from the sanctuary rooftop, Tigress forgets about the Jade Royal residence and hurries to the open country, before long followed by the remainder of the five, to deal with Tai Lung. They find him crossing the string of trust, a progression of extensions through the mountains. They endeavor to stop him on the last extension. After a legendary clash, the five addition the high ground and seem to have crushed Tai Lung, binds him to the remaining parts of the cut-off scaffold and sending him into the fog underneath. Nonetheless, Tai Lung's abilities demonstrate predominant, and he shocks them by tossing himself onto the bluff and overwhelming them with a chi block. Rising that morning, Shifu tracks down Po in the sanctuary kitchen, encompassed by cupboards with amazing opening punches in the entryways and sheets broken clean in two. Shifu engages a thought and lets Po know where Monkey keeps his treats prior to taking cover behind the entryway. He re-enters and sees Po playing out an ideal split close to the roof, chowing down on the treats. Understanding Po's dormant ability, Shifu brings him high into the Wudan Mountains to the Pool of Hallowed Tears, where 𝐿𝐵 established the beginnings of Kung Fu. With an emotional thrive, Shifu declares to be Po's lord, with full confidence in his understudy finally. With that everyday encouragement, Shifu starts his thorough preparation. Po's extraordinary preparation ends up finding lasting success, and he develops further and more planned, while Shifu's own spirits rises and advances at Po's quick improvement. Shifu's confidence in Po is justified in an undeniably vivacious duel over a dumpling that turns into a wild fight in which the monster panda battles with strong and imaginative expertise to win. Nonetheless, it is when Po tosses back the dumpling he won that Shifu has genuinely progressed, with a freshly discovered profound strength and serenity. They return to the sanctuary as Crane flies in, conveying the remainder of the five, who have been deadened by Tai Lung's assaults. Shifu revives them, yet Po is deterred by the way that five bosses couldn't overwhelm Tai Lung.